CSIS 1550 is filmed before a live studio audience.
Hey everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at phpMyAdmin. So step one, just make sure you got your XAMPP running, and if you got it running, you got the two green lights like you see here on the screen, then you're good to go. So how do you get to phpMyAdmin? Well, from your control panel you can get there, but it's a little bit different on Macs versus PCs. So we're going to go the way you can do it on all machines, and that is you go to your browser, and if your XAMPP is running, if you just type in localhost, you'll end up on this page, and then you just click on phpMyAdmin. That's it. Now you might recall at the very beginning of the semester, like, I don't know, 3 months ago or whatever, you've actually been here. This is where you came to change your password when you first set up your XAMPP, when you first installed it. Okay, so what you're looking at here is just a graphical user interface to get into the database. What we've been using the entire semester is a command line interface, right? This guy right here, the green screen, right? And so you'll see over here quickly, you can see Colonial and Solaris and Tal right there, right? Well, when we want to see those here, we say show databases. And this is just what's called a command line interface, CLI. Well, the other one we're going to learn today is a graphical user interface. And if you become a web developer, which I highly recommend, I'm a big fan of, I'm a web developer myself, then you're going to definitely be involved in using this software here, phpMyAdmin. Okay, so what exactly are we going to do here with it? Well, everything that we've done already on the command line, we're going to just do it in the graphical interface. So what have we done on the command line? Well, we do CRUD, right? Let's capitalize that for effect, right? CRUD, which is create, read, update, and delete. What do we create, read, update, and delete? We create and read and update and delete databases and tables and columns or fields, and we also do rows, also known as records, right? Also, we can do this with users and other things, right? We're just going to keep it with the basics here. This is meant to just be an introductory video. We're not going to go on a full-blown exploration of phpMyAdmin. We're just going to look at the few things that we do on a regular basis in the command line. We're going to look at how to do that with phpMyAdmin. So let's just start over here with seeing the databases. Poof, they're right there on the left. That's it. There's not much more to it. The second you log in, there it is. Okay, now you can add a database. If you look at the top here, we're going to look at this database tab here in just a minute, and then there's the SQL tab, and then the user account, and a couple other things we'll look at. So if we just click on databases right here, and then if I want to create a database, I'll just go right here, and we'll call this database Magic. Do lowercase, and create. And there it is. It now shows up over here. And of course, this phpMyAdmin and the command line are looking at the same database server. That's an important thing to understand, because now you see that Magic is not here, but when I show databases again, Magic is there. This isn't a different copy. This isn't a different database server. This is the same server. We're just, in one case right here, we're using a command line to get into there, and over here we're using the MySQL, or excuse me, the phpMyAdmin to get in there. But both of them are getting into the same place. Okay, so for example, if I want to see the tables in Tal, we just click on the little drop down here, and there they are. There's the customer, item, orders, etc. Let's look at customer. If I click on it, so if I drop down, we come down here to the columns, we can see all the columns right there. Okay, we also can see which one's the primary key with that little picture right there, right? But if I want to actually look at the records, just click on customer, and here it is right here. What we just did by clicking on the left here is the same thing as if we did use Tal over here, and then we said select star from customer. Same thing, right? Okay, but in this case we just had to make a couple of clicks. Now we can also look at the structure. We know how to do that on the command line, right? We just say something like describe customer, right? That gives us the structure. Or we come over here and we just click on the structure button, right? Very simple, okay? There it is, customer name. It has all the details. This is a char 3, char 35. Again, same information that you'll find over here. Okay. Now right here, if I want to remove something, let's say I want to drop the state field, or let's not drop it. Let's change it. Let's change the city. City is 15 characters, right? It's a char 15. So we knew how to do that on the command line, right? Alter table customer, modify column city, and then we'll change it to a char 20, for example. 20, right? That's it. Now it's updated, and if I describe the table again, you'll see that it has now changed to be 20. Okay. We come over here and we click the structure button again. You'll see it changes because again we're looking at the same place, right? There we go, 20. Now notice that it went lowercase here. Okay. This is only because I simply wrote it lowercase in my command right here, right? But as you can tell, it doesn't really matter because I was able to reference city lowercase here in my command, even though it was capitalized in the original thing, right? And if I were to rerun that query here, or that command, I should say, and just capitalize this by just simply saying capital city, it's going to change it to a char 20, which it already is, but you'll see that everything becomes capitalized again, right? It's no big deal. But now if I describe the customer table, it goes back to being capitalized right there. And of course, when we view it from this perspective, which again is the same place, we're just viewing it through a different window, basically. Right, and there we go, city. Okay, now if I wanted to do that here, all I have to do is click on this little change button right here. So we'll click change. And then right there in the value, just change it to 15 or whatever. Come over here on the far right, and we click save. And poof, we've saved it. That's it. If I want to drop it, I can just literally click right there on drop. So let's add a field and then drop the field. Okay, let's add it twice. Let's add it on the command line the way we normally would. So we're going to alter table customer, add column. We'll do country, why not? And we'll make it a char 15, maybe 20. Okay, that's it. So now we've added this, and if we go to describe customer, we see that we have country right there. Okay. And of course, again, if we look at it through this window, which is looking in the same place, right? There's country. Okay. We can drop it by clicking here and dropping it, or clicking over here, or not clicking over here, but writing the command over here, which is, again, it's just alter table customer, drop column country. The end, that drops it, and now it's gone. There we go. And again, if I want to do that over here, well, let's refresh it because it will be gone already since we already dropped it. But now let's see how do we add it from over here. Easy. Right down here we can just click add one column or however many we want. I can add multiple columns if I want. And I can even say where do I want to place it. I want to place it after repnum. Now, as you know, it doesn't matter where you place it, but you can control it. If you like the flow to be in a specific order, you can do that. But we just say add one, click go right here. And now it gives us this whole mess of fields we can fill in, right? So this one was called country, and then we choose that it's going to be a variable character is what you see here instead of just plain old char, or we can do char right here, and we give it the length of, say, 50, and we can choose it to have a default value, which we've done in the command line before. We can choose to allow nulls or not allow nulls. We can make it auto increment, which you cannot do in this case because it's not an integer, and so forth, right? If you scroll vertically, you'll see there are other fields here, but we actually don't need to fill out any of these. We just need these few right here. Things change if we want to make it an auto increment, or if we want to make it a key or something like that, we can choose to do that. But in this case, we're just adding a country variable with it's a character 50. On the far right, click save. Now notice here you can preview this. If you click on preview, this says alter customer, add country right there. This is exactly what we just wrote on the command line a minute ago. Okay, all this thing does is writes the query for you. That's it. It's just a really fancy interface that lets you do some pointing and clicking, but it's just writing SQL code. So click save, and poof, it's there. If we go back to the structure, you'll see there's country, and if we refresh or we redescribe the customer thing, you will see There it is. Okay, so that's table structure in a nutshell. There's really not much to it. I mean, it's all of these things. We basically did all of this, right? Made a database. We made a table. We did make a table. We can do that in a second, actually. And then we made some columns that we added or deleted and so forth. So let's make a table, right? We know how to do that on the command line. We've done it a million times. Let's look at how to do it here. First thing, make sure you're in the proper database that you want to be in if you're going to do that. Right now, we're in the TAL database. We can tell because it's highlighted over here and we're clicking on it. But you can also see right here, it says database TAL. So if I clicked on Colonial on the left over here, now it says Colonial database, right? And if I want to click on, say, customer, let's go to the guide in the Colonial database. Now I'm looking at the guide table in the Colonial database. But we're in the Colonial database, okay? So from here, if we want to, we can actually add a new table. So to do that, just click on the actual database again, right here, Colonial. And then come up here to Operations. Click on Operations. And here we have database comment if we want. Right here, create a table. So we're going to call this table, I don't know, more guide stuff, right? I'm just making stuff up. More guide stuff. Okay, that's it. And it's going to have 4 columns or 3 or pick a number, right? We can just choose how many columns. Then we choose Go right here. And then we give the fields their names, right? So we're going to have an ID, it's going to be an int. In fact, we'll make it an auto increment and we'll make it the primary key. And then we'll have a name and we'll make it a char and we'll make it 50. And then we'll make, look at all these Jeff Stones in different places. This is when I'm testing stuff, jeez. And let's make another, I don't know, city, and we'll make that also a char, and we'll make that also 50. And we won't bother making the third one. That's another option. You don't have to use all the things you have listed there, right? We just made 3 rows or 3 records, excuse me, 3 columns, 3 fields. We click Save. And it just made ID, name, and city, and there we go. There's the more guide stuff table, ID, name, and city, okay? We can, again, change and drop and edit all that stuff like we've already done. So that's really it. There's lots of other stuff you can do here, but for now, we're just going to keep it simple. Again, I just want to introduce you to the idea here that you can use a command line interface or this one, the graphical user interface. All right, next up, let's take a look at our list here. These things, I think we got a decent handle on it. Again, this isn't super complicated. It's just a matter of going in there and clicking around and playing around till you find this stuff. It's not that hard, but it's pretty straightforward to create a database, create a table, and create columns. We just did all that. How about adding records to the database? Let's take a look at that. Go back here down to our TAL database. Let's shrink up Colonial. Go to our TAL customer right here. And it's super easy. We're in the browse view, right? And again, you can see all the records here. And let's look at the different things. We can create a record. We can update a record. We can read a record, which we're doing right now. And we can delete a record. So let's go ahead and create a record. Easy enough. All we do is go up to this tab at the top here, Insert. Click on that. And now what it's done here, this looks a little overwhelming at first, but it's really not bad. This is giving us the opportunity to insert 2 rows. Okay, so you can see this first one up here, and this is just another copy of it, right? So customer number, we choose a number right here, and this is the actual data information. We're going to fill out these fields right here on the right. Okay, let's go with 999. And the customer, this is Beavis Incorporated, and their street is 123 Main, and that is in Winslow, Utah. I don't know if that's a place or not. 88888. Their balance is $0. Their credit limit is $1,000. Their rep number is 15. I don't remember who that is, but whatever. And the country is USA. That's it. Now I can add another one down here if I want to, okay? But we're just going to click Go, and that's it. We just made 1 record. And you'll notice here, it's actually running this command right there, right? That's an insert statement that we know how to write. Well, it already told us it did it, so one row is inserted. So if we go back to clicking the Browse tab up here, and sure enough, there's Beavis Incorporated at the bottom. That's it. We added a record. We didn't have to write the insert statement because phpMyAdmin did it for us. Okay, how about we update a record, right? Easy enough. We just click on Edit right here, and we're going to edit Beavis Incorporated. And we just change the value right here. Now their credit limit is $5,000. Click Go on the right, and done. Now their credit is $5,000. Simple, right? You're like, Jeff, why didn't you show us this at the beginning? Because I want to make sure you understand how this stuff works behind the scenes, right? And phpMyAdmin is one of the messiest looking interfaces, and it can be very overwhelming. So I want to make sure that we spent the entire semester understanding this on the bare bones level from the command line. Now we can see things like this and Workbench, which we've looked at in the previous videos, right? These are just graphical interfaces to get into the database. Okay, if we want to delete a record, it's obvious right there. We just click delete, and it'll ask you, are you sure? And it even shows you the command. Do you really want to execute delete from customer where customer number equals that? And the answer is yes, I really do. And behold, Beavis is gone. Now notice here, there's these check boxes. If you want to edit things, multiple things at a time, just click on a couple of these right here, for example. Let's say we just want to quickly update. Let's click on this one and this one here. We want to update those three customers from a $7,500 credit limit to, say, $9,000. So we've checked those three. Then we will click Edit, and it'll actually edit all three that are checked. And you can see here's the Toys Galore, here's the Everything Shop, and here's Johnson's Department Store. So let's just change this to 9,000, and we'll change this one down here to 9,000. And I skipped one at the top. Here we go, 9,000. That's it. And then I can click any one of these goes right on the right side here. I can click that one, or that one, or that one, doesn't matter, or the one at the bottom. Any of them work. So click go, and it will actually run it for all of them. And you'll notice now 9,000, 9,000, 9,000. Okay, next up, we've looked at the browse, and there's so much more, right? But we're just looking at the very raw, bare bones here. And we looked at the structure. There's also this tab right here, the SQL tab. You just click on it. It's actually just essentially a command line interface, right? Where I can just run a query right here. Okay. So I can just simply say select star from customer, right? And if I just click go, it'll run it. And there we go. We just get this command here that actually returns the results of the table. Okay. I can click on show query box at the top right here, and that will show the query I just wrote. Okay. It will show the query that gives me this. Now, if I go back and click on that button again, you'll notice here that it already starts off with the query there, where you can get the foundation of what the query is supposed to look like. Okay. And then over here, we have these columns. These are the actual columns that are in the table. Okay. And if I want to put one in here, I can right here, instead of saying select star, delete that, and let's say I want to say select city. So I'll click it on the right, click this little arrow thing here, and it adds it there. Then I'll click a comma, and I'll say click balance or whatever. Or if I want to select multiple ones, so let's go back here, delete all those, and then say this, and then hold the shift key down to do a bunch of them in a batch. Right, so start at the top and then hold the shift key down and click right to here, let's say, and that gives you all those. Click the little arrow thing and it puts them all there, right? It puts the comma between them and everything. Okay, so let's clear that out though. And we will just click on this one, and if we want to do, again, a batch of them, you just click the last one in the batch with your shift key held. But if you want to do individual ones, click one, hold the control key, then click another one, and then click another one, or whatever, and then hit the arrow button, and it moves them all over, okay? And then your where clause, you still have to write that individually, right? But I could say something like where city equals, and then pick whatever our parameter might be. So let's look at it from the command line, and let's go with Grove. That's a city that will return something. Okay, and then I can say go right here on the bottom right. And behold, it shows the two records that have Grove as a city. It's only showing the customer name and the balance. So whatever we put right here in the command. Okay. Also, let's say you wanted to do an insert statement, right? We go back to this command, the SQL command button. If I want to do an insert statement, I just click insert, and it actually gives me a starting point right here. Insert into the customer table those fields, and these are the values down here. Or if I want to do an update, I click that, and it has a starting point. And again, you have to clean that up and change it to fit what you're trying to do, but you can fill it out, right? There's also for delete from customer where whatever, okay? So there's lots of different things you could do here. And again, just want to give you the bare bones here to show you what's going on here. Okay, next up, let's take a look at the export and the import tabs. So let's just start by clicking on towel right here. And this is saying I'm going to lose my changes in my query. That's fine. And if I click on towel, I'm now looking and I can see over here, these are the actual tables, right? And if I click on export right here, this will actually allow me to export the entire towel database as a SQL file, right? So I can just choose to say SQL format here. And if I do quick display, then it just gives me the minimal options here. But if I want to get custom here, I can do all kinds of things where I specifically choose which tables are going to export. I can rename things. I'm going to save to a file, which is just going to be the default behavior anyway. And then I can, just put some comments in here and all kinds of different things, right? You can also do this where you click add a create database and a use statement. So what that simply means, when we're done, this is going to be a file that if I were to hand it to somebody else and they were running imports, it would completely create the database and everything. Well, this will actually add at the top of that file to create the database and then use that database before creating all the tables, okay? All right, so you can do that or not depending on the context, and there's all kinds of different settings in here. Again, I don't want to overwhelm you, so we're going to stick with just the quick display. It's going to export it into a SQL file, and we're going to click go right here. You'll see right there it's downloading to my desktop if you look at the bottom left. I'll go to my desktop and I'll right click on that and edit it with Notepad. And you can see here, there's some other funky stuff here that we haven't really talked about. Don't worry too much about this. All we really care about is this, right? What's going on here? Well, create a table with all that stuff. We've already done this before by hand, right? It just took the table that already existed and it wrote a create table statement for it, right? And then what did it do? It's inserting all of those records into that table. And then it created an item table and it's inserting the records. So this whole thing, you could just copy and paste it right on the command line if you wanted to. Also, you recall at the very beginning of the semester, I gave you an import file that you were to run on the command line where you did source and then you ran this particular file. This is actually how the file that I gave you, it came from me doing an export like this, okay? I may have used Workbench, I may have used phpMyAdmin, and I also edited and tweaked it a little bit, but that's where it came from. It's just an import file. So you already know how to do this, but let's go ahead and run it anyway. So I'm going to close this down here, and let's go to the phpMyAdmin, and we're going to drop towel right here. So to do that, we want to go to the home button up here on the top left, and we want to click on the databases tab. That databases tab becomes available when you click on home. So click on databases, and here are all of our databases. There's towel right there. Let's click on that, and then look right here, we can just drop it. Here we go, drop. You are about to destroy a complete database. Do you really want to do that? Yes, I do. Click OK, and it's gone. And if we look here and I say show databases, it's gone. Towel is not there. Okay? But you recall that we previously were able to import, right? So this, if you look in here again, you'll notice it does not have the create database called tal and then the use database command, because I didn't check that box that we looked at a second ago in phpMyAdmin. So that part I'm going to have to do manually right here. Okay, just using the database. It says I'm in tal, but there's nothing there. If I say show tables, I'll probably get an error. Okay, yeah, unknown database tal. So let's just create a database. Database tal. And now I have a tal database. I'm already apparently using it. Let's just make sure. And then I'm going to say source and drag this in. You might recall you did this at the very beginning of the semester. So there we go. Source, drag it in, hit enter, and it just remade the tal database. And I can show the tables and everything's there again. Okay, if I go back into phpMyAdmin and I refresh databases, there's tal again. If I click on tal over here, let's click on the home page first so it refreshes. And sorry, not the home button, but the actual little refresh button here, refresh. And tal is back, click on tal, and there is everything right there, okay? So now I'm going to drop tal again and show you how to import it through the phpMyAdmin tool. So back to the home page, back to the databases tab, click on tal, and then drop. Yes. Okay. So right here, I'm going to import the top little tab here, and I'm going to choose a file. So when I click on this button here, we navigate over to the file, which is that one we downloaded a minute ago. Click open. Now, when I click go, we're actually going to get an error. And the reason we're getting an error is because I have not chosen a database for this to be imported into, right? So if I click go, it's saying SQL query database tal. There is no database tal. That doesn't exist. And the database tal right there is actually just a file name. Okay, this tal.sql. So that's what that message is about. But down here it says no database selected. Well, again, we didn't add that command that says create database and then use database. So we have to manually add the database, right? And the reason I did that is so I can show you how to manually add databases. So first step, we come over here to databases, and then we're going to create a database. Right here, we just put the name tal, click create, and poof, that's it. Tal is right there. There are no tables in it. That's okay. We're going to click on tal. And now when I come over here to import, choose a file, go to SQL or tals.sql, and now it will import into the database tal. You see that message right there. When I click go on the bottom right, we get a whole bunch of green happy messages, right? And everything looks good. And we'll come back over here and you can see all the tables here. Click on customer, and sure enough, all the records are back. All right, so the last thing we're going to look at here is the privileges tab. And you've actually been in here before. At the very beginning of the semester, this is where we came and edited the local host password, set it to 1550, right? Well, we can add our own new users here. So let's just click on the add user account right there. All right, and then we're just going to choose the name Beavis for the user. And we're going to give him permission just if it's local host, okay? So that means that if this is uploaded to our remote server or something like that, he would not have access. This is just local, maybe for development or something like that. Then here we put in the password. Now, you can choose to put a password here. And I'm just using the word password right there, okay? Or if you want, you can actually click generate. If I click that button, it will put the password right here so I can see it, and it also put it up in these spots as well. So I can just copy that and use that for the password. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's a really secure password. Just paste it over here somewhere. Okay, so that's the password. And now, right now, this is saying grant all privileges on the tal database. Well, if I want to, I can also give him global privileges for everything, for all tables, by clicking that. And then I can choose, well, which privileges does he have for all of these tables. So let's just give him everything except for, let's say, delete. He has everything else, okay? Go ahead and click go. Okay, so it looks like we've added a new user here. Now let's just see if we can actually log in using the new user. So we're going to exit out of the command line here. And then we're going to actually open up just the actual command line, not the MySQL command line, but just the computer's command line. Okay. Now, in order to log in on the command line with our new user, we have to actually navigate to the file path of the XAMPP server, right? So I already know mine from where we're at is in the Dropbox/local servers folder. And then if we look inside of here, just in the XAMPP folder. And then from here, I believe it's the MySQL folder. Let's take a look here. Yep, CD MySQL. By the way, CD stands for change directory, and then CD into the binary folder. So from here, I can now log in. Let's go full screen here. I can log in by saying MySQL --user equals Beavis. Did we give him capital or lowercase? Capital, it is case sensitive. And then the password, I believe I still have it copied right there. That should let us in. And there we are. We are logged in now as Beavis. Okay. So let's take a look at what we can see here. Let's do show databases. And we can see all the databases, but you'll recall we removed the delete privilege from Beavis. So let's test that out. Let's go use towel, select star from towel. Okay. Sorry, not from towel, from customer. Don't know what I'm thinking. All right. And now if we say delete from towel where customer num is equal to 126, he should not be able to do that. And it says, oh, I did it again with towel. My goodness. Change that to customer. I don't know why I keep doing that. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Oh, and you know what? He actually can delete from towel. I forgot because we gave him every permission for towel, but the other databases, he should not be able to do that. So let's go with use colonial, for example, and show tables. And we'll select star from customer. Okay, don't forget the semicolon. And he should not be able to delete from here because we did not give him delete privileges on the other stuff, but only on towel. So here we go. Delete from customer where customer num is equal to 101. Here we go. Delete command denied to user Beavis for table customer, which is the exact behavior that we should expect. So sorry, a second ago when he was able to delete from towel, that's because we did not remove those privileges from towel. If you recall, we set him up as a user for towel, and then we added the global privileges, but we removed the one piece of it, the delete piece of it. So I know that's a lot of stuff to take in, and believe me, there's so much more to phpMyAdmin than what we've looked at here. Again, my goal here is to just give you a little bit, dip your toe in the water, because you know how to do all of this stuff on the command line. And that gives you a leg up on your competition, frankly. Most people don't know how to use the command line anymore. That's a lost art. But real database administrators have to use the command line. Those are the few people that do know how to do it. If you end up working on a Linux box, odds are that's all you're going to have is a command line. You won't even have these graphical interfaces. But the reason I show you the graphical interfaces, a couple things. Workbench that we looked at in a couple of videos previous to this, that's very common in the industry, and it's a very good interface for interacting with a MySQL database. phpMyAdmin is the one that is definitely the most used when it comes to web development. So if you become a PHP programmer, then you're going to be using phpMyAdmin. Guarantee it. I use it all the time. That's where I live when it comes to database stuff. I still do a lot of stuff on the command line because sometimes it's quicker and easier, but believe me, phpMyAdmin is very, very useful and very helpful. Now you'll notice there's other things up here: plugins, engines, char sets, variables, replications, settings, a whole bunch of things in here. We're not going to bother, and for what you are doing right now, you don't need to worry about those. Someday if you become a full-blown web developer, then maybe consider looking at those. But the intent here is just to give you enough information so you kind of understand how to navigate this whole messy interface. And really, what really matters is that you can get into the tables and the databases over here, and you can add records, add columns, remove columns, add tables, remove columns, remove tables, and so forth. In other words, CRUD on database, and on tables and on columns and on rows and on users. And even in this case, I don't necessarily feel like I have taught you it all and you are masters of those things. I feel like more I've just exposed you to them. That's kind of the goal, though. Just expose you to the basic ideas there. So hopefully that helps, and you can now feel a little bit more comfortable getting into the phpMyAdmin interface. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next time.